Hey guys, today you're going to be writing your first investigation. The assessment task is called Beanbag Toss. The task assesses criterion B and C. So what you're going to be doing is asking questions, designing an experiment, and processing, collecting, and evaluating data. Let's go ahead and take a look at this first sheet. The first part is where your teacher is going to provide your grade, any feedback, reflections of your strengths, areas for improvement, targets, and then your parents, peers, or other feedback. Now what we're going to focus on today is this second page, the task description. So let's go ahead and read the task description. How do you think the distance from a target or bin will affect how many beanbags you can successfully toss into the bin? Plan an investigation to answer this. All right, so let's read through that again. How do you think the distance from a target or bin will affect how many beanbags you can successfully toss into the bin? We're going to use the help from Mr. Chicken to help us. So, Mr. Chicken, how does the distance from a target or a bin affect how well you can toss a beanbag into the bin? Is it easier to do it if it's farther away or if it's closer together? Or is it just impossible because Mr. Chicken has no arms? Okay, well first what we need to do is part one, planning. So what I need you to do now is open up a Word document. Go ahead, press pause, and do that now. All right, so all of you should have a Word document open just like I do. And the first thing you always need to do is write your name. So I'm going to write my name, Miss Digby. And then underneath, I'm going to write my class, which I'm going to put 7.2. But you put whatever class you are in. Go ahead, press pause, write your name and the class you're in right now. Welcome back. Okay, so we need to go back to our investigation and look at stage one. The first thing we have to do is write the title of the experiment. Well, if I remember correctly, the title is called the Bean Bag Toss Investigation. So go ahead and write your title now. All right, you should have your title written down, the Beanbag Toss Investigation. And then if we look at our next part is the introduction. Briefly introduce what you will be doing. What are you doing in this experiment? Okay, so let's go back to our Word document and write the word introduction. Well, I want you to think about it for a minute. What exactly are we doing? Okay, we are planning an investigation that determines how the distance of a bin affects how well you can throw a beanbag into the bin. So that's kind of what we're doing. So in your own words, could you go ahead and write that down now? Welcome back. All right, so for your introduction, you should have something like planning and performing an investigation that determines how distance affects the number of beanbags I can successfully throw into a bin. So let's go ahead back to our beanbag toss investigation and find out what's next. All right, looks like we have the aim. What are you trying to find out or discover by doing the experiment? We normally start with to find out how blank is affected by blank. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this onto our Word document next to AIM. And it's to find out how the number of bean bags I can successfully toss into a bin is affected by distance. Go ahead, press pause, and write your aim now. All right, so you should have your aim written down, and now we're going to go ahead and look at the beanbag toss investigation. After aim comes hypothesis. A hypothesis is an educated guess, a prediction as to what you think might happen. So if we go back to our lab, we're going to write the word hypothesis. So I like to use if, then, because. So if the bin is placed farther away, then I will get many bean bags into the bin because I am a superhero. Now, I wrote a silly hypothesis, but I want you to write a hypothesis using your knowledge, your scientific knowledge. So if the bin is placed far away or closer to you, then you will get, however many bean bags because of whatever reason. Go ahead, press pause, and write your hypothesis now. All right, so you should have your hypothesis written down, and a not silly one. You should have written a hypothesis with your knowledge of science. So going back to our investigation, next we have apparatus. It is a list of equipment we will use and a labeled diagram showing how we are. Let's first write the word apparatus. And we're going to use a bullets to write what we're going to need. Obviously, we're going to need a bin and bean bags. It would be a good idea to write how many bean bags you're going to use. Maybe you're going to use 10 each trial or 5 each trial, but it's not going to be just one. You're going to need more than one. So you can write how many. We're also probably going to need tape because you're going to want to tape down where you're going to start each time. You're going to want to control that. Make sure you're starting at the same place. And another thing is probably a measuring device. So the next thing you're going to want to do is draw a diagram of your apparatus, exactly what it's going to look like. So if you look at mine here, I put the bean bags here, and then we have a starting place. And then the tape placements, there's 5 of them. So the first one is at 1 meter from the starting place, then 2 meters, then 3, then 4, then. So go ahead and press pause now, and you make your own apparatus diagram. What you're going to make sure you want to do is label it a little bit better than mine. So press pause and do that now. So you all should have your apparatus diagram drawn. It should be labeled better than mine. And what we're going to do now is go back to our investigation and read what's next. It says the method. What will you do and how will you do it? Use a step-by-step list. So let's kind of talk about what we're going to do. All right, so we know that we need, first thing, we need a bin, bean bags, tape, and measuring device. And what we're going to do is tape a line for the starting place. Now, I have chosen to put my other measurements at 1 meter from the starting place, 2 meters from the starting place, 3, 4, and 5. And so what that means is for our first trial, I will have the bin down at the first meter, and I will stand here and throw my bean bags into the bin. Then I'm going to record how many I got in. Then I'm going to move my bin to the second meter and do the same thing and record how many I get in. Then I'm going to move it to the third and do the same thing, toss them in, then the fourth, and then the fifth. Okay, so let's go ahead and write the word method. And what you're going to do is write a step-by-step method of exactly what you're going to do. So the first thing would maybe be to collect your apparatus, which includes your bin, tape, measuring device, and bean bags. The next step would be to place the tape on a starting place, and then I have chosen to do it at 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meter, 4 meter, and 5 meter. So you are going to go ahead now and finish your steps. You may have many, many steps, and that's okay. You want it to be very easy to follow so that if you were to give it to your little brother or sister, they would be able to follow it. So go ahead and make your one by one steps now. All right, so everybody should have the method done. It it might be a lot of steps. It just depends on how you did it. But now what we're going to do is look back at our beanbag toss and see what's next. And it says fair testing. Explain how different variables will be controlled. Well, as you know, we'll move on to our next page here and write fair testing. As you know, there are 3 types of variables. The first type of variable is the independent variable. The next type of variable is the dependent variable. And the last type are the controlled variables. Okay, so there is only one independent variable, and if we think about an independent variable, it's the one that we're changing. So the only thing that we're changing in this investigation is the distance from the starting point to where the bin is. So we're changing it from 1 meter to 2 meters to 3 meters to 4 meters to 5 meters, or whatever you chose. So distance from starting point to the bin. Okay, so that is what we're changing. The dependent variable is what is this whole investigation dependent on? It's dependent on how many beanbags we can successfully toss into the bin. That's what it's dependent on. Now we need control variables. So to make sure that there's no other variables or factors affecting our dependent variable, how many beanbags we can toss into the bin, and that it's only distance that's changing, we have to control the rest. So we need to control the bin. We need to keep the same bin each time. Okay, also the place or the location of where you do this. Because if you were to change the location each time, who knows if that's a factor, okay? So the place or location, keep it the same. The next is the person throwing. Some people might have better aim than the others. For example, I have super aim because I'm a superhero. Mr. Chicken has no aim. So if he threw sometimes and I threw sometimes, then it wouldn't be fair. It would not be fair testing. So the person throwing needs to keep the same. Also, some people are stronger than others. So now it's your turn. You're going to think of at least 2 more variables that could affect how many beanbags we can get into the bin that we need to keep the same to make sure that the only independent variable is the distance that we're using. So go ahead, press pause, and think of 2 more controlled variables that we need. All right, now that you have your fair testing complete, you've got your independent, dependent, and controlled variables, you also have the method of exactly what you're going to do. You have the apparatus you need. You have your title, your introduction, your aim, and your hypothesis. It is now time to do the experiment. So have fun, and then we're going to come back to another video where we'll talk about stage 2, which is data collection. So I look forward to seeing how your experiments work out. Enjoy!